Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Thanks for joining me today. My first project for you today is using this old coffee can that would normally just get thrown into the recycle bin. I'm taking some of this spackle. This is just a large amount that I picked up at a hardware store because I tend to use it a little bit more around the house. And I'm just taking a popsicle stick and I'm going to fill up all of these ridges in the can. Now, they're not going to disappear completely, but I did want them to kind of camouflage a little bit. So I'm just going to fill it in as best I can. And then once I've got a generous amount there, I'm just going to take that flat end of the popsicle stick and run it across everywhere to smooth it out. I'm going to set it aside and let it dry for a good 2 to 3 hours. Now that it's all fairly dry, I'm just taking my sandpaper and I'm not doing a rough sand. I just want to kind of get some of that excess off that's in between. So I'm just kind of pushing the sandpaper in between the spackled areas and cleaning that off. I'm going to cover half the can with Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Parisian Gray. I really love this color. And with Folk Art, you only need one coat. The coverage is awesome. The top half of the can is going to get a coat of white paint. This is a DIY chalk paint that I put together using regular household latex paint in an eggshell finish and some talc. If you're interested in that recipe, I have it down in my description box. I'm going to create a separate lid for the can. I don't want to use this one because it's going to be difficult to get on and off because these are snap-on, snap-off kind of lids. So I'm going to trace 2 circles on some cardboard. This is fairly thick cardboard. It's not the corrugated kind. It was actually a backing from a picture frame that I didn't need anymore. I'm going to cut both of the circles out. It was easier for me to use a utility knife, but you could cut through this cardboard with scissors as well. I've got my 2 circles. I'm just going to hot glue them together. This is just going to make the lid a little bit thicker than if I just used one of the circles. I also trimmed around the edges where they were overlapping. Then I'm going to glue on this old jar lid. I wanted the lid to have a little bit more character to it, I guess, and not just be totally flat. This next step you don't have to do, but I thought it would add a little bit more stability to the lid. I am using some thick masking tape, and this is just masking tape from the dollar store. And I'm just going to fold it around the edges and layer it up a little bit, make it a little bit thicker, and also hide the fact that there are 2 cardboard pieces glued together. I'm going to paint the lid completely black, including the jar lid itself. And I'm just using Craft Smart acrylic paint, again, that I've just added some talc to make it more of a chalky finish. I don't like to use bought-in chalk paints like the Rust-Oleum or Folk Art when I'm doing projects that I'm just going to have around the house. I save those more expensive paints for items that I'm going to sell. I'm going to give the entire lid a coat of Mod Podge, and this is so nothing chips off, especially on the shiny lid here in the center. I'm just going to add a little wooden block that I've painted white. This was from a previous project, so I always go into my stash to see what I have. And I'm just going to set it on top of the jar, and while it dries, it will glue on with the Mod Podge. I made this free printable and I will have that on my website. The link is down in my description box. And I'm just going to go around the border here and close up the corners because there was one corner that was closed up, but the other 3 weren't. I have a piece of white vinyl here that I decided to glue my label onto first. I've just found that using Mod Podge makes the paper wrinkly, and this will just give it more of a sturdier feel, and I'll be able to peel off the backing of the vinyl and stick it onto my can. I'm just using my little squeegee here to make sure that it's adhered very well and there aren't any bubbles in it. Then I'm going to go ahead and trim around the edges so I don't have that extra vinyl. There's a couple more things I want to do with the can before I add the label. This is a chip brush that I have been using for distressing, and each time I use it, I don't wash it, and it's been getting stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And it's giving me really neat ways to distress. I'm doing it very slowly and carefully on here. I'm not pressing too hard, and I'm just getting kind of like little scratches. That's what it looks like to me. I really like this effect. To camouflage the line between the gray paint and the white paint, I'm using this little black and white gingham ribbon. I love gingham and black and white buffalo check. It's my favorite fabric and ribbon to use. So I had this little piece left over and I thought it would look super cute. So I'm just going to start gluing it onto the back and then glue it a little bit towards the front as well. Today's video is part of a challenge that's hosted by Casey over at Coffee with My Sunshine. Please make sure you check out her channel, go over, subscribe, and tell her I sent you. Her co-host this month is Jamie from Simple Roots, Simple Living. Jamie is a wonderful lady. She does a lot of farmhouse home decor. Please go over to her channel as well and subscribe. Next, I'm going to peel the backing off of the vinyl, and I keep calling it vinyl, but it's actually white contact paper. So this works really good. I think I'm probably going to use this technique a little more often here on my channel when I'm doing labels like this because I really love how it turned out. Using the same really rough chippy brush, I'm just going to go ahead and distress the label just a little bit so it blends in with the can. I'm going to paint this little candlestick using high heat barbecue paint. I picked this up for a different project. It was actually redoing my gas fireplace, and I've been using it for DIY projects, and I just love it. It's totally flat in shine. There is no shine to it at all, and it dries super quick. Probably in about 2 minutes, I can pick the project up, turn it around, and respray it. And one coat gives amazing coverage. I've got the coffee can upside down and I'm just going to use some hot glue and glue this candlestick on the bottom of the can to make it look like it's sitting on a pedestal. It turned out super cute. My next project is using this sign that I put together last year for winter decor. I'm going to remove everything about it, the backing, the paper, and the glass. One of the things that happens with me is when I go thrifting, I look for frames. I never use the glass. I'm always just tossing the glass. I had saved a whole bunch of it and just got rid of it a while ago. And I thought, you know what, there's got to be a way to be able to use the glass as part of the frame and stop that from going into the garbage. So I decided to use this wide masking tape and tape it all the way across. My idea was to make it kind of look like shiplap. And so I'm just going to cover the whole thing with the masking tape and try and keep it as smooth as possible. Once I had it all covered, I just flipped it over and then pushed over the ends of the tape to make sure that they would stay nice and secure. This is a sign that I will most likely sell, so I wanted the back to look really good. I'm going to use my glue stick and glue on a piece of craft paper. Now this craft paper I have in a big roll and it's not super thick like the stuff you can get at the Dollar Tree. This is a thinner, almost just like a regular paper feel, so it's going to glue very nicely onto the back. Using my craft knife and a ruler, I'm just going to cut off the excess all the way around. I'm going to paint the masking tape white just using my latex DIY chalk paint. I'm going to paint the frame in black. It's already a dark charcoal gray, but because I'm going to be using a decal on it, I wanted it to match and the black looks really great against the white. Using my ruler, I'm going to mark every 2 inches on the glass. It's 8 inches wide. And I'm going to just use my pencil and draw some shiplap lines. I love using pencil for shiplap because it's a grayish color and it's not so bright and it's also not a very thick line. I created these decals using my Cricut. I'll have these available on my shop on my website, but I'll also have it available as a free printable. I'm just measuring out where I want them to be, and then I'll go ahead and stick them down. If you're not already part of my YouTube family, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button and join me. It really helps my channel grow. Now that it's all complete, I'm going to go ahead and put the glass back into the frame, push down the staples that were already holding it there, but I'm also going to give it an extra bead of hot glue all the way around to make sure that the glass stays put. I have these old-fashioned clothes pegs. I thought it would be really cute to add one onto the sign, and also because I put the decals on a little bit off center, this just helps to make it look complete. I'm also going to give everything a coat of Mod Podge except for the clothes peg. I want to make sure that the decal stays on and that none of the paint chips off of the frame. This last project is using these old-fashioned clothes pegs, just like the one I put on the laundry sign. I'm going to glue them together side to side, but I want the open part to show because I'm going to be putting it on this mason jar. I'll be gluing them on there. And then if I wanted to put a candle in there, it would be really pretty to show that light filtering through those open gaps. I'm going to then glue the clothes pegs right onto the mason jar. And what I decided to do was then have the clothes pegs glued to each other first. And then every once in a while, I'm going to put some hot glue underneath to make sure that they're stuck to the mason jar as well. I'm going to use some of Bear's Antique Wax, which is a dark brown wax, and I'm just going to use a makeup sponge and just rub it all over the clothes pegs just to give them more of an old and distressed look. I think this would look beautiful on a laundry room shelf with a candle in it, or even just a nice floral arrangement. Just because it's a laundry room doesn't mean it can't look pretty. I really hope you enjoyed these laundry trash to treasure DIYs, and you got some inspiration to take some ordinary items and create some extraordinary things. If you like this kind of content, I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Those two black arrows will show you exactly where to click. Bye for now.